so special.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Ballin Zone Spring 2019. New semester, new season here. We're happy to be here at Hawk TV, channel 12.1. So let's just get right to it. I'm the producer of the show, Whirlins Francois, aka Whirls. I'm here with my boy Nick Presto.
What's good,
and
Mamas?
we got a lot to talk about. So, you know, we had that big trade that happened a couple days ago.
Unexpected trade between the Knicks and the Mavericks.
Yeah, Porzingis is now Dallas Maverick. He's teaming up with Luka Doncic. The Knicks traded Porzingis along with Tim Hardaway Jr. and as well as Trey Burke
And
Courtney Lee. They got rid of those two bad contracts. And Dallas is trading Dennis Smith Jr., Wesley Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, and their two unprotected first-round draft picks, 2019 and 2020. So if you're a Knicks fan, at first, you know, the first reaction was they were mad as hell because of the trade, because you trade away, obviously.
Nobody wanted to trade Porzingis.
Yeah, Porzingis was their star franchise player, and now he's in Dallas pairing up with Luka. But, like, if you think about it, the Knicks really finessed Dallas out this trade. They keep their first-round draft pick. They keep their first-round draft pick, which could potentially be Zion Williamson, obviously #1 overall projected pick in this year's draft. They still get Dallas's, and they get Dallas's two unprotected first-round draft picks. So they have three draft picks.
That's huge.
For next year and 2020. So, and plus, you got rid of two bad contracts in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee, and now they created $71 million extra in free agency next year. Potentially, they could sign KD.
They now have two open
and
slots
Kyrie.
to sign max free agent contracts.
Yeah, they could potentially sign KD, Kyrie, maybe it could be AD, maybe it could be Kawhi. There's a list of who's free agents out there. So that was my initial thought of the deal. I think the Knicks won that. A lot of Knicks fans are angry, mad, because, we lost Porzingis. But you got to think about it from a business aspect of what the Knicks are trying to do in the future. They're trying to land two potential big-time free agents, Kyrie, KD, maybe Zion, and you still have Dennis Smith Jr.
Dennis Smith
potential
Jr.,
starting
he was
lethal
proven last year in his rookie season that he can play. This kid's got a lot of potential, and now he's going to get his chance to shine with no Luka Doncic in the way. It's his time now to be the starting point guard in New York. Kristaps Porzingis unfortunately tore his ACL, and fans went from absolutely booing him on draft night, like, who the heck is this guy, to loving him, calling him the unicorn and being the savior of New York, to unfortunately tearing his ACL and getting into a bunch of fights.
It's crazy how Knicks fans, like, easily turn on somebody just like that. Like, first draft night, booed him. Who's this man? They wanted somebody else. I forgot the name. And then lose like 15 games into the season.
And then he starts performing, and it's like, oh, maybe we got a steal.
Yeah.
And then now he's
Shout
gone.
out to Phil Jackson for making that pick too.
Yeah. Everyone hated on Phil Jackson because he did kind of destroy the Knicks.
He's the
for a little
unseen
bit.
GOAT. Unseen
but
GOAT.
he is the one that drafted Kristaps Porzingis.
Unseen GOAT. And then talk about another trade I was talk about. AD, man.
Anthony Davis is on the move.
I knew he wanted out of New Orleans, simply the fact that he's been there for 6-7 years, and they really haven't progressed in terms of the roster changes that they did.
They've only won like 1 or 2 playoff series in his 6 years there.
Yeah, well, 6-7 years or something like that. But like KG said it best when he talked to Big Ticket. He said, you don't want to waste your time, your prime years in New Orleans. Same thing, KG was wasting his time in Minnesota, and he was like, eventually he had to move on if he wanted to be recognized as one of those greats that has a championship. If you look at analysts and fans of the basketball and critics, if you don't have a ring, you're really not considered the top echelon of the greats of all time.
Yeah.
Like Charles Barkley, he's one of the greatest small power forwards that has ever played this game. Doesn't have a ring. He's not recognized as the greats. Patrick Ewing, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, those guys is probably the best to ever touch a basketball, but the fact that they don't have that jewelry on their finger, they're not represented as one of those top all-time greats. So, and AD's mind is like, listen, man, I only got a short amount of time to play basketball, and I need to get me a championship if I want to be up there in the Hall of Fame with those glory of greats. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Listen, NBA teams do what's best for their franchise.
Exactly.
So why should we, take a dump on a player when he's trying to do what's best for him? Because teams trade players all the time. Look what they did to Isaiah Thomas.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Literally traded him after he gave everything for the city of Boston. He played a playoff game after his sister tragically was killed in a car accident, and then proceeded to drop like 50 points in that game. And then they go and trade him after the offseason. I don't know. Yeah. Anthony Davis said that he gave it all for his city of New Orleans. He did everything he could. He gave the city nothing but love, and the city did love him back, but now he feels like it is time for him to move on, do what's best for him, team up with this another superstar, and possibly win a ring.
And then no fault for a guy trying to win a championship. We fought KD for doing it, and look how much, backlash he took. But at the end of the day, when he retires, he's going to be a two-time champion, a league
possibly
MVP,
more.
And possibly more. He might win one more, then he might bounce. We don't know how that's going to end up with, but you could hate on KD all you want. End of the day, he's a champion no matter what. Mm-hmm. All we remember is did this guy win a championship or not?
At the end of the day, people aren't going to look back and be like, oh, he's a snake. He traded teams. He left Westbrook and OKC to go to the Warriors and join a super team. At the end of the day, most of the greats are going to look at it and be like, this guy's got rings now. He's certified himself as one of the greats. So.
And if you're not, and you're playing the game to be the greatest that you can.
Exactly.
There's average NBA time span is 5 years. 5-6 years. Look at LeBron, he's in his 16th year now, and he's got 3 rings. Obviously, he wants to be more. And it's just, I don't fault. And it's funny because really LeBron James started this player mobility movement that we see now. And he took, his talent, like you said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, that we see KD do the same thing.
Joined up with Dwayne Wade and Chris
then we
Bosh.
see Paul George doing the same thing, basically now forcing their ways. Like, listen, if I'm not happy in this situation, I don't see us winning, I'm going to move on, and I'm trying to do what's best for me. You guys, you teams and franchise do what's best for y'all. I'm trying to do the same thing for me. I don't see anything wrong with that.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year, 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 88. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
The first day stepping on the court, I couldn't keep up. That motivated me to step up my game. When I reach a goal, I set a new one the next day. And my next goal is to go to college. Mastering the court takes persistence. So does getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
When you're on this team, you learn to never give up.
Even if you're down, third-string quarterback, clock ticking,
Hostile environment.
exhausted, you can never lose hope.
There are over 13 million people in the Horn of Africa affected by famine, war, and drought that are counting on us for help.
More people affected than the population of New York City
And Los Angeles combined.
And we can't give up.
Please go to this site and forward the facts about this crisis to everyone you know.
Do more than donate.
Forward the facts.
Back, spring 2019 semester, segment number 2, host, producer, Orleans Francois. We're now joined here by the associate producer of the show, my man Billy O'Neal.
Hey, Dan.
Shaquille O'Neal's long-lost son. Yes, they got the same last name.
Except it's spelled different and not related at all.
There's an I in there instead of the E and the A, instead of the A. So, yeah. So, we big football fans.
Yeah.
I know you watched the championship game last week.
Yeah, I did.
Saints.
I watched both of those games.
The Saints and the Rams. Listen, we all know that the referees missed that call against, I believe it was Coleman against Lewis. We know that it was a bad call. But in my opinion, it is just crazy how much the Saints are just crying and moaning and complaining about, we should have been at the Super Bowl, this and that, blah, blah. Okay, there's missed calls all the time that happens in sports. Let's get over it. There's missed calls in NBA, there's missed calls in soccer, blah, 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 etc. But for you to take it this far, they actually filed a lawsuit to have a do-over of the NFC Championship.
Yeah, it was Rule 17. There's a section that says the commissioner can elect to have a game be replayed or reverse a decision. But there were so many missed calls in that game, it seems almost,
Both sides.
Right, on both sides. Like, there was a face mask on a drive that could have led to a game-changing touchdown for the Rams. They missed that clean out. I think ultimately when those things cancel out and it goes down to it, there's so many hypotheticals to say, like, if you're going to say that call would have made the Saints lose, there's a bunch of other calls to look into, and would they have still scored in that possession that they had? I mean, they probably could have, but it's not a guarantee, and there's so many variables that they're not really accounting for that, like, ultimately, I'm happy with the fact that the Rams are in the Super Bowl. The Rams were a solid team year-round, and it's not like they don't deserve it. Yeah. So, yeah.
In my opinion, I think ultimately the better team won, because look what the Rams had to go through. That loud stadium in the Superdome with all those fans just screaming. You could barely hear. Jared Goff could barely hear what the coaches were communicating to him in the helmet. So they overcame that. And we'll talk about back to calls. Who had the ball the first time? Who had the ball first in the overtime?
Saints did.
Okay. Did they score?
No.
They threw a pick to Flowers. Breeze threw a pick to Flowers. So then you had the ball the first time in overtime at home in your arena where you're pretty much dominant, undefeated at home, and yet you don't close the deal. So it's just like, to me, in my opinion, it just seems like it's a whole bunch of excuses that they're just making up. Be like, well, that call cost us the game. Well, like you said, there was a missed call on Jared Goff. What about that call? That wasn't called. Yeah, that could have easily been a 15-yard penalty on the Saints on that face mask.
Yeah, without a doubt. At the same time, I understand where Saints fans are coming from. Like, you hate to see it happen.
You hate to see it.
Like, yeah. I almost felt bad for Cowboys fans when Des dropped it.
I don't feel bad for any Cowboys fans.
But, like, in theory, like, when you go to watch a game, you expect it to be, like, officiated correctly. It's not a job that you expect to be hard, and especially with a call like it was a pretty blatant pass interference. There's no dispute that that's exactly what happened. It's hard to not feel pity for him.
If you're arguing that was not the correct call, that was obviously a missed call. They flat out missed that call. There is no arguing against that. That's a flat out pass interference, no ifs, ands, or what's about it. But it's just for them to take it all the way to the next level of saying, we want to do over, we want this, we want that. They made a shirt that says, refs should call games, something like that, whatever it's called.
Blow whistles, not games.
Yeah, blow whistles, not games. And it's just like, really, dude? Like, I understand you have every right to be mad, but, like, taking it to that level, and Shannon Sharp said it best, too. Like, he's on
make plays, not excuses.
Make plays, not excuses.
Yeah.
They didn't make plays. They had the ball the first.
That's pretty inexcusable.
You know what I mean? You got to close the deal.
Yeah, and to look at it from a similar hand, in the Chiefs game, there was plenty of, like, bad calls or missed calls and you don't see Patrick Mahomes, a young quarterback in his second year, making any sort of complaints. He's just saying that he's going to be back next year.
Exactly.
Like, it's just two different ways of handling the scenario, and you expect more from the Saints as an organization and as a team. You think that they're coached better, and they should just know better than to do that.
Yeah.
Especially with Sean Payton wearing his Roger Goodell clown shirt. Which I respect, but at the same time, like, it's a bad look for the entire team.
Like I said, it's a bad call, but it's just at the end of the day, you got to move on. The game happened 2-3 weeks ago. How long are you going to keep talking about it? You know what I mean?
They're never going to stop.
So it's just
how it's going to go.
Like, Saints fans are really passionate, but at some time, you just got to move on. Just look forward to next year. Breeze is coming back. You're going to have a really good offense coming back.
Right, you're undeniably going to have it.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably going to win your division again.
Exactly.
There's not much competition down there. You have another playoff run in sight, so just take time. I understand, like, the argument that, like, that hurt Drew Brees' legacy, but, like, what are you going to do? Like, he's still going to hold every passing record by the time he retires, and Tom Brady's not going to break them because they're probably going to retire in a similar time frame. So, I don't know. It's really it's up to interpretation, but to order the entire recalling of a game, that's a little far.
Yeah,
that's a little outlandish.
That's a little crazy. Now, you said that game potentially might have hurt Drew Brees' legacy.
Yeah.
I don't think it did.
I think that's how people are interpreting it, though. Like, that if Drew Brees went to the Super Bowl and then he won the Super Bowl, that's 2 rings. And given that he was already entering the GOAT conversation this year, when a lot of people viewed him as underrated for it, for him to go out and get it and do all that in the same year that he's setting all these records, it would be a monumental thing for him. And it would just be, he's more than a one-ring quarterback. He's more than a one and done, which is a large part of the argument against Aaron Rodgers for it, except Rodgers won't finish his career with any of the records.
True. I mean, whoever's calling like Drew Brees that hurt Drew Brees' legacy, I don't really think so in that opinion because like he's already set in stone as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and like that last call was not his fault. Like obviously it was a blatant pass interference again, but he's an MVP, especially what he's done outside the football field, what he's done for the community and the city of New Orleans since Hurricane Katrina happened. So for me, I think no matter he could lose the next season, have a losing record next season, Drew Brees is, without a shadow of a doubt, a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
But to counter that, you're also now, the game changes. If you ignore all the penalties, the game changes when Drew Brees throws an interception.
Yeah.
In his house, in one of the hardest places to play and on the road.
True. I mean.
So, like, down the road, people probably aren't going to remember the pass interference call. They're just going to remember that Drew Brees threw an interception in overtime.
Yeah.
And that led to an easy drive for the Rams to win not even an easy drive, just enough of a drive to win a game. So it's up to interpretation, but who do you think's going to win it now that they're there?
Listen, half the country right now is voting.
More than half the country.
Probably like 48 out of 50 states wants the Rams to win the Super Bowl just because they do not like the Patriots. There's only 2 towns, 2 cities, 2 states that are voted for the New England Patriots to win.
Massachusetts.
There's Massachusetts
and Maine.
and New Orleans because they do not like Los Angeles right now because the Saints feel like they should be in the Super Bowl, and just to envy the Rams, they're going to vote against them. So there's New Orleans right now and Massachusetts are voting for the only 2 states that are voting for the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. After that, that's it. Every other team in the country is saying Rams because we do not like Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots. That's it.
But who do you think's gonna win? I want the Rams to win every day of the week.
Listen,
but
man.
if I'm gonna put money down on a game, I'm gonna tell you I put 50 on the Rams and slide 100 onto the Patriots because they've been here before and they've done it before.
Listen, man, I'm not going against Tom Brady anymore. I lost too much money betting against that man. He's unbelievable. Despite the fact that he cheats, he's still the GOAT, man. 5 rings. You can't argue with 5 rings.
We can talk about the GOAT some other time. Let's not get into it. We gotta wrap
carried
up.
Away. All right, guys, we'll be back here at Ballin' on Hawk TV, channel 12.1.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
I look up to a lot of the older heads, the innovators, the heads of the art movements of the past. They kept it really edgy, and like a lot of the Latin American muralists and Latin American artists, and their styles were very unique and new to their time. Somewhat controversial, but that's who I look up to mainly. Personally, I'm very excited about going to college. It's something new and it's something different than what I'm used to. I'm definitely going to be a little out of my element, but that's what makes it so exciting is that, it's something fresh. Well, there's so many opportunities that I think I could miss out on if I didn't go, Getting into college takes planning and vision. It's just like when I take a brick wall and turn it into a canvas for my art. Paintings help me realize that I've got what it takes.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's 1 every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
It's time to join forces. Get energized and fuel up right. Because starting today, every kid in America has a mission. Bring out the action hero in you. Be part of the greatest action movie ever. The first movie that puts you in the action. Show us how you train and eat like an action hero. Join in at actionheroalliance.com.
Hey guys, welcome back. Ball on the Zone. And I have a special guest sitting in that chair right here. Haley Gasprine. She's the promotion director of Hawk TV and the producer of Curtain Call. Say what's up to Haley, everybody. Give her a round of applause.
Hey, Ballin in the Zone. Thank you so much for having me, World.
Thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it. It's nice to get a female perspective of, sports talk show and sports in general. So basically, I want to talk about this segment, kind of going into race. Obviously, it involves race a lot, is the lack of black head coaches in the NFL and like race in general.
Yeah.
So give you a little stat. In the beginning of the NFL season, there were 7 head coaches that had jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And now at the end of the season, there's only 2. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and Anthony Lynn in LA. So I just feel that I don't want to say it's a racist thing, but it's definitely something to keep your eye out on because there's been black coaches just dropping like flies, left and right, left and right. And obviously, you want your coach to perform besides Hugh Jackson and Marvin Lewis, they obviously did not do their jobs to what we expected to be. But NFL has this thing called the Rooney Rule where you have to interview at least one person of a minority ethnicity, whether it could be a Spanish, a black person, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, whatever. So you at least have to interview that person for a head coaching job or a top position job. Maybe this be operations, something like that. So they have that rule in place. But that technically doesn't mean that you're gonna get that job, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you interview that person of color. So
And I saw something recently about how, minorities are interviewed and they do get hired, but rarely do they ever get promoted to those leading positions. And I also saw the statistic too that only 80 out of 85 of the head official coordinators and quarterback coaches are white. So that means 5 of them are minorities. And it's just crazy to me because, it's really important that when you have a group of leaders, especially that is shown on the media, you need to be able to represent diversity. And when it's all white people, it makes you sit back and question, why is the NFL kind of only promoting older white cisgendered males?
Yeah. And I feel like that's basically they're portraying society in a way because if you look at, I'm going to use Monmouth University for example, obviously we all know that this school is 80, 70% white with a little percent Hispanic and a small percent of black people. And I feel that way. I don't think that this school has that much diversity to begin with, but I just feel that way just if I want to be comfortable in my environment, I don't want to sound racist, but I kind of want people of different
who are
color,
like you.
different race, you know what I mean? I don't want to go to, and sometimes I feel when I go to a classroom of 30 kids, I'm the only black person that's there. And it's just how do I talk to these people? How do I find something that's in common? Because in my opinion, I have this preconceived notion, and I don't want to sound racist at all, but mostly you watch TVs of white people having big houses, nice cars, and you see a lot of kids here that go to Monmouth that have big houses, nice cars, and their parents make a lot of money, and it's just that, how do I relate? How do I relate with you on that subject? Because I'm from Brooklyn, New York, you know what I mean? I'm from Bed-Stuy. Bed-Stuy is not a wealthy place to grow up in, and now I live in Long Island, New York, so it's just that's why, I don't know, it's just kind of hard for me.
Yeah.
cope with that.
And that's why I think it's so important to have representation on the media of all diversity, because it's intimidating for minorities when they don't see people who look like them. So, you know, say you have a child who's a minority and he wants to grow up and be an NFL player, or he wants to be a coach. If he is only seeing white coaches, maybe he thinks, oh, you know, I'm not meant to be a coach, because that's what he sees in the media and that's how it's represented.
Yeah. Especially too, like if you're a college kid that wants to be a coach and you go to university and you look at the statistic that you just said, and you're just like, well, they're gonna give me an interview because of that rule, but they might not necessarily hire me because of that. So that kind of pushes them away from reaching and achieving their dream and pursuing it. So it's just that like race still does play a factor in our society.
Yeah.
Not how it used to, like I see back in the day. Obviously we improved so much now.
Yeah.
But there's still some work that needs to be done. Especially I want to see more black people in power. I want to see more Hispanics in power. I want to see more Puerto Ricans in power. More Irish people in power. I want, like when I go to a work setting or a school setting, I want to see like a lot of people of different backgrounds, not only just white, but just everything. Just, you know what I mean, just having fun, laughing together. Like, I don't feel like if you're a person, you should not have a racist bone in your body, because at the end of the day, you take away skin color, we're all the same on the inside. We all have organs, we all have a heart, we all have legs, we all have bones. So, like, you know what I mean?
You know, and I think what the problem is, you know, racism is still a thing, obviously, but people will deny it and say, no, racism isn't a thing anymore because, you know, we had a black president and that was someone who was in power. But that kind of is the root of the problem. Yeah. By saying there is no racism, you're completely ignoring it, and that doesn't fix the problem. I think that being aware of situations and problems like this, like in the NFL and in the media, you need to be aware of color, and that's only going to help fix the problem later.
Yeah, I feel like just people just they're too afraid to talk about the race subject because it is it's a touchy subject, you know, not a lot of people want to hear about it, just like in terms of not a lot of people want to talk about LGBT and rape and stuff like that, because it's a sensitive subject. But if you want to invoke full change, then that's the tough subjects that you're going to have to talk with. You know
you have to kind of go head on with that issue.
Yeah, so I just think that hopefully, you know, there'll be more black coaches in the NFL in the future. Obviously, you want to hire them because they're qualified to do the job, not just because you're forced to because of that rooting rule. But I think change is still yet to come. Obviously, we came from a long way, but there's still more work to be done.
Yeah, so. I agree. Not only in the NFL, but even people in power, like in our Congress and our House of Representatives, it's mostly white people.
Yeah. And that needs to be a change.
And there needs to be a change, for sure.
Hopefully we'll get there. All right, Haley, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Look at that diversity already.
This is what I'm looking for.
This is what Martin Luther King dreamed of. All right, thank you guys. Ball in the Zone. We'll be right back here. Hawk TV, channel 12.1. Don't miss it.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.